we've been talking about situations where the Kiddushin are invalid, the betrothal is invalid. We're in the middle of the second chapter of Kiddushin. And Mishnah keeps on playing around with these kind of ideas, with different sorts of situations. Interestingly, the situations that we're going to deal with now both relate to someone who tries to betroth two women simultaneously. And we find that a difficult concept today. But of course, the halacha, the Mishnah would certainly, after the takana of Rabbeinu Gershom, he wouldn't be allowed today. But in the time of the Mishnah, it was possible. And the Mishnah begins, Hamakadesh shtei nashim b'shovei peruta. So someone betroths two women with the value of one peruta. Now we've learned that the minimum sum for betrothal is one peruta. So can you betroth two women with one peruta? That's the question the Mishnah wants to explore. Someone who betroths two women with a value of one peruta, or isha achat b'farot b'fachot mishovei peruta, or he betroths one woman but with the value of less than a peruta. So now we're really getting to the heart of the matter. Each woman doesn't have the value of a peruta. And of course, it doesn't work. Of course, she's not going to be betrothed. But there's always a but. Afal pisha shilach sivlonot lachar miken. Maybe even if he subsequently sent gifts, so maybe he gave her less than a peruta, and then the next day he sent her a bottle of wine or a beautiful ring or something. But the Mishnah rules eina mukudeshet. When she's not betrothed, it doesn't work. When she accepts the betrothal, when he says harayat mukudeshet, at that point he has to give her the peruta, or he has to specify he's going to give it to her at a future date. If he gives her less than the peruta, then giving her presents at some future date doesn't help, doesn't assist. And similarly, the Mishnah actually explains Shemachamat Kiddush Harishon Shilach, because he sent them on account of the first Kiddushin. He'd given her a present because she was engaged. He hasn't sent her a present on the basis that she's engaged by that present. He's sent her a present because she's engaged, and she was never engaged. And same is true if a minor betroths. What's the issue with a minor? Well, clearly, a minor cannot transact Kiddushin because the minor, that is somebody below the age of majority, not someone who digs coal from the earth. Someone below the age of majority, that kind of minor, doesn't have any legal capacity to transact Kiddushin. So obviously, his Kiddushin are not valid. But the Mishnah seems to be getting at the question, and the Bartanura makes this clear, by the way, it's on the source sheet. He sent presents when he became of age, i.e., he contracted Kiddushin when he was a minor. After his 13th birthday, he sent presents. Does that make up? And clearly not. It's exactly the same if a minor betroths, i.e., if a minor betroths and then sends presents, the Kiddushin are not valid. And then running along this theme of what happens if we betroth two women simultaneously, well, we've said if there's only one peruta, then it doesn't work. Or if there's only one peruta between the two of them, it doesn't work. What if somehow it's impossible to marry these two women? Hamakadesh isha uvita. Someone betrothed simultaneously a woman and her daughter. Now, he could betroth either of them individually, but once he's betrothed one of them, the second is forbidden. Once you're linked to a woman, you can't marry her daughter, and vice versa. If you're linked to a daughter, you can't marry her mother. It doesn't work. Another example, or Ishav Achotaka Achat. Maybe he betrothed a woman and her sister simultaneously. Einan Mukudashot. They're not betrothed. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because although individually they may be permissible, collectively they are not. And the Mishnah is now going to tell us a story, really interesting story that brings out a whole range of issues relating not just to betrothal, but to seventh-day produce. It once happened with 5 women. 5 women. Two of them were sisters. Okay, so we got 2 sisters in the 5 women. Velikate echad kalkala shel te'enim mishelahen hayat. And some guy took a basket of figs which belonged to them. So he took their figs. Ushveit hayat, and it was the 7th year. So he took their 7th year figs. Amar lahem, he said to them, Harei kulchem mekudashot li b'kalkala hazot. He said to them, behold, you are all betrothed to me with this basket. So he gives this basket he gives them their basket of 7th year produce, 5 women, and 2 of them are sisters. And he says, you're engaged with this basket. Now, what happens? So, let's keep going with the story because it doesn't. We're gonna keep on learning from it. It's almost like this story is almost like an exam question. It's almost like an undergraduate exam question. It's got all the complexity. One of the women accepted the basket on behalf of all of them. So we got the messenger now. Remember, we've already learned that a woman can send a messenger to accept Kiddushin. So one of these 5 women has accepted the basket on behalf of all of them. So what are we going to do? Amru Chachamim, Ein ha'achyot mekudashot. The sages said the sisters are not betrothed, i.e., all the others are. The other 3 are. The sisters are not betrothed. Well, we know the sisters can't be betrothed because you can't betroth 2 sisters. We've learned that. Why are the others betrothed? Well, we know that it's possible to get engaged via a shaliach, via a messenger, and they've done that. We know that it's possible to get engaged via something which is worth more than a peruta, and I guess the basket of figs is worth more than a peruta. Interesting that the basket was their basket. Now, how can you get engaged with something that doesn't belong to you? And we need to think a little about that. We're obviously going to learn something about 7th year produce. Of course, 7th year produce is hefker. It's ownerless, or it essentially belongs to the person that's holding it. So, fine, it was their produce when they were holding it, but now he's got it. And because he's got it at the moment that he's holding it, it's his produce. So he can hand it over as the Kiddushin. So he does end up, surprisingly, even though he's using 7th year produce, he does end up engaged the 3 out of these 5 women.